It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right.
It's time to meet the Muppet on the Muppet Show tonight.
Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a kind of torture to have to watch the show. It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call the Muppet Show.
Well, hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. This is episode number 100.
100!
The big one.
That's it.
And joining me in the studio tonight are a couple of ring-ins. We've got Rusty over here.
Hello, guys. Hello, Andrew.
Yeah, hello. And we've got Greg.
Hey, Andrew.
Regular Golden Tonsils over here.
Much better looking than the usual hosts.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Not that I'm that way inclined or anything, but yeah,
Well, I
your beard's
dunno.
better anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's close.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got a face for radio, so I'm all good.
Well, you're in your element then, aren't you?
I am. So right now I'm going to handball this across to Rusty. And
well, thanks for doing the intro, mate. We have to probably put out there that you lost a bet.
I'm just better at doing it than you.
Or that, yeah. Mate, I'm happy to listen to that every time, actually. I think we should take a poll on who does the intro from here on in. And
Greg.
yeah, I was going to say we'll probably end up with Greg as the answer.
We'll put
That
a
will be
petition out.
this week's Would You Rather. Would you rather Greg, Andrew, or me to do the intro? And Andrew has to lose a bet to do one, and Greg, well, we can't afford for Greg to do the intro yet. We haven't done enough Patreon supporters to be able to do that.
Him to say more than 25 words per minute.
I like to keep it low, just to keep the costs down for you, Sam.
We appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. Speaking of our Patreon supporters, this episode going up, you'll probably either have already seen or in the next day or so see our reading of the Impact book.
God.
Good luck. That is coming as a special bonus to our 100th episode for all those who are Patreon supporters.
You're aware that our Patreon supporter numbers may drop considerably after that.
I am expecting them to. So, with that in mind, I have got some bonuses for them just so they put up with it a little bit longer. All of our Patreon supporters, no matter where they live, all the ones current as of recording this, are going to get some stickers.
Stickers, bro.
Yeah, I found some Nike stickers at some shop there. So I'm going to send you some of those. We did get some Precision Shooting Podcast stickers actually made up. So that will be coming your way. And for all of our Patreon supporters who pitch in $10 a month or more, you guys are going to be getting coffee mugs. If you've been doing that for like 3 months or more, coffee mugs are on their way to you.
Do we sign those ones or what, Sam?
Well, I think there's only one signature in this room that adds value to those mugs.
Yeah,
It's not mine. It's
yeah,
not
at
yours.
least
Rusty.
$5.
Yeah. So Greg will be signing some coffee mugs for our Patreon supporters. So
And the last one I signed looked like graffiti, so maybe not.
And broke in the post.
Yeah, well,
It couldn't handle it.
couldn't handle the stress of my signature.
That's right. So we will be signing all of them and sending them out to our Patreon supporters. So thanks for those guys who've been doing that for us. Sorry that you have to put up with the Impact reading. If you do want to hear the Impact reading, jump on Patreon and we shall. That'll be there, sitting there ready for you to have a listen to.
Good
Well,
book.
Good book.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I gave Ian his copy the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And he was stoked. I put a photo up on Facebook.
I did see that, yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah, he looked pretty excited.
Obviously, he hasn't listened to the reading yet. So.
No, but he was reading the book. That's why he was excited.
Yeah.
And I did contact Corey about getting his sent up to him. He thought he was trying to do an impersonation of Butters when he did the Impact call.
It was good.
It was good. He said it was the most random message to get to say, "Hey, you've won a book for impersonating Butters." So congratulations to Corey and Ian on your wins. No doubt there'll be some more comps. I think I got given something to give away again. I can't see it at the moment. I don't know what it is. I think there's something. Greg, you haven't donated something to give away.
No, I can see a couple of cameras you can give away there. couple of lenses.
Greg was going to give away a 49% share of one of his Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, 49% doesn't really mean much
No, I mean,
it's a pocket
it's a few billion here and there.
Pocket change.
between friends. Yeah. Speaking of heaps of money, how's your week been, Greg?
Yeah, not too bad. Got out after some foxes on the weekend.
Oh yeah.
We knocked 4 over, so just took a new starter shooter out and gave them a taste of hunting before they got too hooked up in F class and turned into a F class shooter. So I just I was going to say something else there, but hesitated.
Very polite.
Self-edited.
Nothing wrong with F class shooting, of course, but yeah, just being a hunter, wanted to get him out there. So he loved it. Knocked 2 over.
Thermalised them or
Sorry,
thermalised them?
not thermalised, but he tried out he just had optical setup and was running a Fox Dog Outfitters light on top.
Okay.
No, I was pretty impressed with that light. That's a pure red LED. Well, it's actually switchable, red, green, white.
Nice.
Yep, fantastic light. So he knocked a couple over. He was pretty happy. And it was good cruising around for the night. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been up to in the last week.
Brilliant.
Andrew.
I actually did a little shooting. Well,
You did some
I
shooting.
did a little bit. I more around the light. I teed up. I was going to take a bunch of guys from work out that were sort of champing at the bit to get into it, and one mate who hadn't been shooting for a long time, and literally sort of within a few hours of when we're going to be leaving, all but one pulled out. So it was great. So I thought, great, here we go. Like 2 people on the back of the ute, one running a light and one gun. It's not ideal, but no, it's good. It was good because the mate that I took out was a Greek, and they love hares, and we smacked about 9 or 10 hares.
Yeah, right. Actually, I saw fox pups out where we were, so they're just starting to come out.
We didn't. We saw.
They weren't far from the den, though.
So we saw, I reckon, 2 sets of eyes, and they were a long way off in other paddocks, and they wouldn't come in, and they wouldn't keep looking at the light.
Yeah, right.
I had a Fox Pro going and everything, so
Yeah.
don't know, but yeah, so that was good, and I had a chance to shoot the 223, which I've been planning and building for a while, and really, really impressed with that. So very happy. So
Excellent. Recap that build.
It was a rifle which was a 300 blackout.
Yep.
An old Remington, started out life as a 17 Rem that had been rebarreled multiple times, and I sort of thought I wanted something a bit more practical for when my kids are old enough to start to get into it.
Sure. Yep.
So I figured a 223 would do the job, and
Makes sense.
yeah, so I got hold of a KRG Bravo stock.
Yep.
And then a Swan barrel, sort of kept it fairly short and fairly light. And so I sort of put it all together, and I was a bit surprised when the first groups I sort of shot at 300 metres were sort of just over the inch mark. So
yeah, nice.
yeah, pretty happy. So,
Yeah, brilliant.
and now my boys just want to be big enough to shoot it.
Yeah, I bet you they're at you.
They would be
They
itching.
would be chafing, yeah.
Fair enough. Nice. Well, I have been off as happens. Just got back from the PRS, the Steel Apocalypse, which incidentally is my favourite name for a shooting match I've ever heard. Also one of the silliest, but also, I think it was really good fun. We had a good amount of shooters. We were at Little River without a roof. I don't know if you guys had seen the photos of the roof coming off that range.
Yeah, I did. It was storms they had the other week. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
apparently 150 k/h wind gust took that one with it, which is considerable. But we made the most of it. We had really good weather. The Friday was a little bit wet, but I was on rego desk, so it didn't really bother me. Whatever. But for the actual match, I think we had drops of rain that you could count on your fingers. There was not much at all that came through. Not even a shower. So it was a really good event. We stayed in Geelong. We stayed at some Airbnb with a whole bunch of shooters. That was good value. And went to Little Creatures, which is unrelated but well worth visiting.
For those that don't know, that's a brewery.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
And that's where furfies are made and a number of other things. So we went down there and had some pizza and beer and then realised we probably needed to do some work for a match. But anyway, it was well worthwhile. That was anyone who's nearby, suggest you get along to it.
Would have been interesting if those 150k an hour gusts had happened while the comp was on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You'd be throwing boomerangs almost.
Yeah, well, barricades would have been flying down the down the range. I think it was good. No, the wind was certainly a challenge for that match. The previous matches for PRS have generally been pretty mild in the wind side of things over here. Just pick the right days, right ranges, that sort of thing. And Little River is always notorious for wind. The wind wasn't significantly heavy. It wasn't, you're blowing a gale, so to speak, but it was switching significantly. Like on when I was setting up, I was, putting the nut on a bolt on a target. And from the time I put the nut on to the time I got it wound in, the wind had come from 4 different directions during that period of time, which we're talking not a lot of time. I'm not great at doing bolts up, but it wasn't that, it wasn't that long a time. Still getting my head around how they work. And so we dealt with challenging winds, which really, I guess, leveled the playing field for some, for many of the shooters that, you had to be really good at reading wind to actually be able to hit a lot of your targets.
Yeah, I guess your shooting technique is one thing, but if you can't read the wind, you're going to be back down the field somewhat.
Yeah, and I think we hadn't had that challenged significantly so far this year, so it was really good to see. And there's a bunch of new winners. Not new winners. There's a bunch of fresh names up in sort of the top end, which was great to see some others come through. Not that, you want to see guys pushed out at all, but just good to see different names come through the mix and hope that continues on. So there's certainly a good chance for everyone. Big thanks to Delta Tactical doing really supporting it. They were there and setting up and doing all bits and pieces with it. So it was good fun weekend. We had dinner at an RSL, which is a really interesting RSL. I had lots of spent shells hanging on the walls and all sorts of bits and pieces. One of those real sort of proper little country town type RSLs. That was well worthwhile visiting and checking out. And the Palmers were pretty good, and I think I ate 3 desserts. But anyway, it's actually no. I ate 2. Greg Small, mate, ate like 4, and we raced. And we decided to race, and so I've given him a sticky date pudding, and I've taken the choc fudge brownie, which was a really bad move because that took me forever to get through. Very, very poor deciding right there. What do you guys got planned? You're going fishing, aren't you, Andrew?
I am. I'm heading over to Victoria to go into a cod fishing competition, so not in related to shooting at all, but it's sort of semi-related because it's right in the middle of Samba deer country. Yeah. I'll probably see multiple deer just standing there looking at me. Yep. And I won't have a gun. So.
And you send photos to Greg.
Yeah, do that.
Don't need to rub it into him. No, but it's in prime deer country, so.
Yeah.
No, that should be good. Hopefully I'll catch something big.
Well and truly.
Yeah, so that'd be good.
Good stuff. Greg, you getting out at all?
Yep. Had a couple of phone calls up in the hills to go up and sort out some foxes. They're starting to harass the farmers, so the pups are starting to come out.
Yep.
And there's some roo tags on the way. I've got to fill, but I'm not sure whether they're in yet, but I'm hoping to get onto those this weekend as well.
Very good.
So they're busy.
Yeah, nice. I got a comp this weekend. I shoot a rimfire comp again. Try my hand at that old shooting thing. See if I can work it out.
Be a bit of a novelty, given all the organising side of things you've been involved with.
It's all right. It's all coming together. We'll get there. So that'll be good. And then November, the plan is to head over to the service rifle shoot at Castlemaine, whichever one they... Castlemaine is what I agree with. But anyway, the plan, a few of us from SA are going to head over there. Finally, we've been threatening to do it for ages, so we'll finally get a crew to head over. So if you are going to be at Castlemaine in Victoria in November, I guess we'll see you there. That'll be good. I listened to your Hunting HQ podcast the other day, Greg, from your trip. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. Is there more to cover? I'm hoping there's some more. You only got through a few days.
Yeah, I think we're going to do a part 2. I think that's the plan. But
Was it one of those ones where you just had enough drinks so you forgot that you were doing podcast?
Yeah,
that old thing.
Yeah. It's pretty much. But it was the 3 days we're down in that valley that was
the key.
Yeah, that was the wicked part. That was like sinking into hunting heaven for 3 days, and unfortunately having to get out of there when the snow came in. But so hopefully we'll build on that. But lots of lessons learned we've got to talk about, gear wise and food wise and all sorts of stuff. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Because you indicated that's going to change some of what you're thinking with your potentially new builds or what your collection is.
Yeah, very much so. For me, I'm backflipping on everything I've sort of done for years. In that I primarily run truck axles. I run heavy rigs, and even for my foxing rig, it's all heavy platform.
Yep.
And they're great to shoot from, of course, but off the bonnet, but they're not so great to carry around.
Sure.
So out of the backpack hunting, sort of where my focus has gone now is primarily for the task of deer hunting is to have a lightweight build, because every kilo counts when you got to lug it 1,000 meters up and 1,000 meters down daily. So that's definitely changed my focus. And then I'm sort of thinking, well, if I'm going to do it with a deer build, these carbon fiber barrels are looking pretty good in terms of accuracy and performance. Why not do it with my fox build? And so I'm starting to backflip mentally. I'm starting to go, well, I might change my philosophy in terms of builds and go light rather than go the truck axle. So
fascinating.
I'm just in that process of flipping over. I've definitely got to do a deer build. Yeah, I reckon I might do that to my fox build as well.
Sounds suspiciously like you've come around to my way of thinking, Greg.
Yeah, well, it's the Baron. I picked up the Baron's rifle, and I nearly put it through the ceiling.
It is light, very light.
and I just went, wow, this thing just weighs nothing. It's like it's lighter than a kid's toy.
Yeah. I mean,
I just went, man, compared to what I carry around in the hills, like chasing foxes, and it just weighs a ton.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, if this thing shoots, and I was watching real careful, going, if this thing shoots, I'm on this bandwagon big time.
Yep.
And it did end up shooting pretty good. And there's a lot of good evidence on the net of great performance out of carbon fiber barrels. So I'm real keen to look at it more.
Yeah, I think like the only downside really I can see with carbon barrels is the cost, but.
Yeah,
I mean, for you, that's really not
that's
a consideration.
Minor details.
Peasants.
Why'd you even bring it up, Andrew? Look at him. You got him going off about poor people again. I have to edit this part out.
And now proof research is going to change hands again. Hostile takeover.
And what I'm starting to see, because probably the only time I get on social media, I usually jump around on Instagram, and I'm seeing a lot more carbon builds, like precision carbon builds.
Yeah,
so they're real cut down chassis style, sort of still keeping the length of the barrel. Just some real nice looking builds that I reckon would really do the job and not be too heavy. So I'm sort of sniffing around at the moment,
I've been doing similar. I mean, I think I've well and truly committed to the first one, which I think we've spoken about a little bit, but there's options. I mean, depends how much money you want to spend. I mean, there's multiple titanium actions available.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That takes considerable amount of weight out again. I mean, you could build a 300 Ultra Mag or a 7mm Rem Mag, something big that's going to have that reach out. That's going to come in at 7 pounds or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's
crazy.
Probably half the weight you would be looking at if you built it a traditional style.
Yeah, and if you got to lug that thing, well, you can now lug that thing. Whereas before you go, I'm not going to take that into the high country. But,
and some of these, I guess the PRS has seen a explosion in sort of bags and all the different sort of accoutrements that are available now, and lightweight as well.
Yep.
So you get a lightweight bipod with a lightweight rear bag, and you got all the stability you need.
Real interested to see how carbon fibre goes into the PRS style rigs.
Certainly present.
Moving forward.
Yeah, it's certainly present.
So what have you seen? Let's say the latest PRS you just ran. What did you see any presence there?
I'd have to.
of lightweight
I'd
builds?
have to be honest and say I haven't looked at the data on it, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it on the day. Fairly easy. Although I do believe there was at least a couple of them there. Yeah.
I've looked into it a bit too, and the general consensus seems to be because most PRS events you're not lugging the gun up and down mountains. You might have to move around a bit, but given the volume of rounds fired over the course of a year, if you're attending a number of matches,
The dollars in the barrel.
The benefit of going with a carbon option over a standard is not worth it.
Pretty close, yeah.
Whereas if you're building a dedicated hunting rifle, you're not going to fire that many rounds in a year generally.
No.
So, you'll get a lot longer life, effectively longer life out of your barrel.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So,
Yeah, I think Andrew raises a good point that the dollars you're going to spend over the course of the year, better off over 2 years or 3 years, you'd get an extra barrel.
Yeah,
for the same
cost
sort of
benefit.
money.
Yeah.
And until we're in a position where we can have field matches where you're running through hills and all this sort of gear and you are hiking for a day, which one day would be wonderful to have those sort of access. Then until that happens, and even when that does happen, you may dedicate a build for that purpose. Or if you're on a switch sort of setup, like eventually will be, you might have your lightweight barrel that you set up for that type of competition, and then you use a normal one for the others. So I think we haven't seen quite a significant shift there, but not for the reason that they don't perform.
Yeah, it's probably more just not quite a perfect fit for the task. Yeah.
Well, most of the carbon barreled builds I'm seeing from various well-known custom builders in the US are, they're not aimed at the PRS market. They're very much aimed at the hunting market.
Yeah,
they're in some of the bigger calibers, the 28 Nosler and 300 Rums and things like that that'll stretch out and knock an elk or something over at a grand, which is probably more what you're thinking anyway for your sambar
that's
shooting.
Exactly what I'm thinking. Yep.
I certainly have heard more chatter at PRS matches for guys building their long range guns, looking at the carbon fiber ones. So they run their PRS rig, but then they're wanting something in like maybe a bit of a heavy caliber, like a 7mm or a 30 cal, something that will stretch out. But looking at doing taking a hunting and being able to wander around with it, and so they want something quite different to a PRS rig, and certainly more and more of those discussions are headed down the carbon fiber line, and the titanium action. And the titanium action, I don't know the details, but they're not as ideal for like a lot of work. Is there truth to that?
I'm not really sure because there's a number of manufacturers I've looked at, and they're all using different grades of titanium.
Okay. Yep.
So I really think it depends on the alloy that you're using. I know titanium can gall really bad, like sort of want to bind up. So it would depend on what your bolt was made out of. Generally speaking, they don't use titanium bolts. They're a steel bolt.
Yep.
But yeah, I haven't looked into it enough. See, for me, I don't know. I mean, you do save a bit of weight. I'd be inclined to probably go with a conventional action for it's a significant cost saving. And I mean, for an extra 100 grams, it's probably not really worth it for me. I mean, it depends. If you were trying to build a rifle with absolute minimal weight as possible, then you would go down that line. I've certainly looked into it, but I thought it's not really justifiable.
Yeah, it's fair.
You're looking at basically double the price of a similar quality action out of steel.
I think I'd be better off spending that money going to the gym and losing some weight that way.
Well, that's a very good point. Like, people think, you've got to be fastidious about getting your rifle weight down.
Yeah,
but it's not not just your body weight, but also your other gear. I mean, the difference in weight between certain boots, for example, could be considerably more than what you'd save in your action on your rifle. So,
well, I noticed, Simo came back from that trip as well, and he hit me up about trying to turn his rangefinders and binos into one device and a few other bits and pieces, trying to sort of bring it down into multi-purposes and less items, less gear, but better gear and often more expensive. But on the flip side, rather than taking three things and take one.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want you
probably have a muffin that's a bit small.
True, or a little cupcake maybe.
But that might not help with the weight loss.
it's probably going to hinder it.
You can
But-
have, you can have your Zagini.
But the point is, you can spend, if you want all those things, you want minimal number of items and so on and so forth, you're going to have to pay for it.
Hmm.
So one way or another, you're going to have to compromise, and it's paying more. Or
Definitely. It does step up the money, but then you take less weight into the field. So
But I did actually just this week contact South Fort Labs about exporting stocks out of New Zealand,
Okay.
because they're Kiwi Composites, which they made the stock that Simo's got. Not Simo, the Baron's got.
Right.
So there's a couple of options there that I'm looking at. So.
New Zealand got some good stuff, and it's all seems to be primarily hunting focused.
Mm-hmm.
So they have some great setups down there. Yeah.
So what caliber would you be looking at with that setup in terms of if you're doing an ideal sort of, and would it be long range capable? Is that
that's where my head's at. I've been talking to Andrew a bit about this. We did see a lot of Samba stags at about 750.
Okay.
And the conditions were pretty good actually. And it was quite an achievable shot with the right rig. So I was thinking sort of something that could hit with decent power out to about 1,000. Not that I'd probably take a shot to 1,000, but sort of. I was thinking 300 Win Mag.
Sure.
Common caliber. If push comes to shove, I can get it locally. All that sort of good stuff.
Yeah.
Plenty of projectile options. So that's where my head's at. 300 Win Mag in carbon fibre at the moment.
Would you be thinking going the full titanium option?
No. And believe it or not, money is the problem there, guys. Yeah. Too committed to the share market, maybe. Look, I've got the old.
Hey,
I've got an old.
You can
long
have
action.
heaps of money. Just doesn't stop you from being really tight.
Yeah.